Welcome to the Be Smart podcast, how not to be an idiot with your money. Speaking of our tagline, Jared, what do you think is a number one way people right now are being idiots with their money? Do you think it's low conviction trades just because they think they have to put something on, or is it something else entirely?
I think it's sports gambling.
Yeah, I saw you wrote about that when you were in Vegas, that the sports books were basically packed and the blackjack tables and all that were less so crowded.
Yeah, sports gambling is out of control.
It really is.
So I walked up to the sports book. So I put a bet on the Yankees. So like the worst bet in the history of bets. I put $200 on the Yankees and they lost 18-2.
Oh,
they were down 10-0 after 2 innings. I'm like, all right, I guess this is over. But I'm walking up to the sports book and they got these employees standing out front who are trying to sign you up for like MGM bets, I guess, which is like their online thing, and they're giving you like $250 free bucks. And I'm like, I really don't want it. And like they wouldn't leave me alone. And I'm like, no, like you don't understand. Like I live in South Carolina. It's illegal. Like I can't gamble. Like it's like they were actually like following me as I was walking away.
I think last year or the year before is when Florida got Hard Rock, and they've been pushing that out pretty hard. So it took a while, but people are obsessed with it.
Here's what's going to happen. I am predicting this with 99% certainty. Sometime in the next 3 to 5 years, there is going to be a humongous gambling scandal in sports. Basketball, football, baseball, whatever. The players are all going to be in on it. They're going to be betting on or against their team. It's going to be like Pete Rose times a million. That is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's already a lot of talk out there about the NBA being like rigged and bringing in certain refs to kind of sway games. And I think you're right on the money there. Speaking of the NBA, were there a lot of Knicks fans up there?
It's funny because the Knicks game, I guess it was game 6.
Yeah,
was playing on Saturday, and I wanted to watch the Yankees and the Dodgers in the sports book, but I knew the basketball game was going to be on, and then it was going to be like a shit show in the sports book, so I just watched it on TV in my hotel room. So,
man, can you imagine? Can you imagine how nuts the sports books have to be during March Madness?
The most nuts I've ever seen the sports book, I was there in like 2017 or 18, and I was there in the middle of the Belmont Stakes. I did, like during the horse race, like it was crazy. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. People, it was so loud. People just yelling their heads off.
Aside from that, how was Vegas? I see it went pretty well.
Yeah, it couldn't have gone much better. I was nervous as hell. When I started playing, my hands were shaking and I was freaking out. I calmed down after about 15 minutes. But it could not have gone any better. They were super thrilled with the music. They want to have me back. Probably going to be going back sometime this summer.
Opening for Tiesto, possibly?
Possibly, yes.
Wow.
Possibly.
That's a big deal. Nice job. Well done.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Yeah.
That's awesome. How long have you been DJing now?
17 years.
Wow. So you're finally breaking through, coming up in the world.
Yeah, I'm 51 and I'm, finally breaking out. So,
Nice.
But the funny thing is that like my style of music is actually pretty conducive to an opening set. Like it's not conducive to a headline set. Like I could never headline, like, cause I just don't play high enough energy. But for an opening set, like it's actually very good.
You want to go to the market headlines? I'm just going to warn you, we're going to front load the pain here with some tariff stuff. Get that out of the way.
Oh, God.
I know.
Yep.
This is the world we live in. First one from the Wall Street Journal. China says the U.S. seriously undermined the trade truce. U.S. and global stocks fell after Beijing denied violating the recent trade truce struck with Washington, pushing back against President Trump's accusation from late last week. Beijing alleged Washington had introduced multiple discriminatory and restrictive measures such as export control guidelines for AI chips and revoking visas for Chinese students. What is going on here? Are Trump and Xi Jinping going to iron this out, as Scott Bessent seems to believe?
Well, as Besant said, the trade talks have stalled for the time being. This is not anything I have any particular expertise in. I don't have, I don't know anything about this stuff. I think that there is, what's the word I'm looking for? There is, I think both parties can benefit from finding common ground, right? I don't think anybody really wants a scenario where we have 150% tariffs both ways, like everybody loses. So I think there is an incentive for the US and China to, I think it's more likely than not, they will come to an agreement that's acceptable, and whatever that means, whether it's 10% tariffs or 30% tariffs or something like that. But I think they will come to an agreement.
And then there's Trump's move to double steel and aluminum tariffs to 50%. The EU is prepared to impose countermeasures, a spokesman said. I know you're over this. I'm over this as well. Do you want to spend any more time on tariffs? I mean, I feel like we're stuck in some sort of sicko loop.
Well, it kind of feels like we're like in 1962, right? Like we're talking about steel tariffs. Like the whole steel industry in the United States is maybe like 15 billion market cap, like all put together. Like it's really inconsequential compared to the stuff that the US produces. And what do we produce and export? We produce and export tech, right? Like that's like Google searches and AI searches and Amazon and Facebook and social media and stuff like that. Like that's really what we produce and export. Like steel, I mean, yes, steel is important. It's a critical industry. We need it for cars and boats and planes and stuff like that. But like I said, it's like 15 or 20 billion worth of market cap. Like it's really like this feels like these headlines, it really feels like we're out of like 1962.
Speaking of tech and Nvidia, just a fun fact here, just based on what you were saying. On Wednesday, searches for NVIDIA earnings outpaced searches for tariffs in the NBA and NHL playoffs. People are obsessed with this company, are they not? I mean, I saw that NVIDIA kind of blew the doors off Q1 earnings.
I didn't know that. I mean, the fact that you just mentioned that, and that just kind of blows my mind. I don't think there's really whole lot of edge in trading NVIDIA. I mean, I shorted it like last year. I covered the short. I was basically flat. I basically made like no money. I was down like maybe $1,000 or something like that. And like when you have a stock that is so front and center in the public consciousness, it becomes very efficient, right? It's very hard to trade. I don't want to say it's hard to trade sentiment. You can trade sentiment, but it's I don't know. Like I've never had a lot of success trading these big, like if you go back to the 2000s, you had the Four Horsemen with BlackBerry, and then the Magnificent Seven and Apple and Microsoft and stuff. Like I've never had a lot of success trading these stocks. I'm much better at trading the stuff that nobody is looking at. The chart setups are better. The sentiment is better. Like it's just easier. It's less efficient.
Does this remind you of kind of the Tesla mania when it was at its peak?
Yeah, actually it does. It does. Yeah. And Tesla, by the way, is up 60% from the lows when Tim Walz took out his phone and showed everybody a chart of like how it was in the shitter.
Well done, Tim. Well done. All right, let's go to our next headline. Why a decade of reckoning is coming to the bond market. I want to read this quote from Ben Harris. When Moody's downgrades your credit rating, that's a red flag. If we go from a 100% chance of getting paid on your treasury to a 99.8% chance of getting paid, that is a massive shift. This is no longer a risk-free asset. This is a risky asset in terms of default risk, and that makes our whole fiscal outlook that much worse. Harris says if interest rates climb toward 5% on the 10-year or even 6% or higher, investors may buy more treasuries instead of other assets. As he puts it, the real threat is that this could spark some sort of fiscal crisis. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the downgrade is priced in. I think treasuries are trading with a little bit of credit risk. I mean, really, like the U.S. is never going to default. Like even under Trump, like it's not going to default. You will just get paid back in depreciated currency, right? So it's not like you're going to have a treasury bond and the government says, "Sorry, we're not going to pay you," and it just goes to zero. Like that's not what a default is going to look like. A default is going to look like the scenario I always describe, where they peg the yield curve and they print a bunch of money, and we have a bunch of inflation, and it basically becomes worthless over time. That's how the default happens. And it's funny because there's CDS on sovereign credit. There's CDS on credit default swaps on the United States. And it's kind of a weird instrument to trade because like there's really no scenario where those things are ever going to pay out. Like those will never pay out.
Next up, gold climbs to over 3-week high as the dollar weakens, geopolitical and trade tensions mount. So gold has risen more than 2% today on Monday, June 2nd, to its highest in over 3 weeks as a weakening dollar and a combination of geopolitical risk and economic uncertainty fueled investor demand for safe haven assets. Do you see gold breaking out higher, and what kind of catalyst would you need to see to get it to surge above this 3,500 mark?
Well, gold is not even the story today. You know what the story is? It's silver. Silver's up almost 6% today. Like it's about to break out. It's about to break out from $35. Like I haven't really been following the news. I don't know what triggered it. Palladium is also up almost 3% today. Copper is up a lot. The one that's lagging is platinum. Platinum is lagging a bit, but it's not just gold. It's the whole metals complex, especially silver. This is the biggest move I think I've seen in silver to the upside like ever.
So do you think gold's going to kind of stay in this sort of range it's in right now?
I mean, it's going to break out eventually. I mean, I can say that with some certainty, but I just don't know how long it's going to take. The chart is looking better. The chart's looking better.
For our main topic, let's do a private equity check-in. So the latest from Bloomberg, as private equity returns dwindle, executives look to soothe antsy investors. Nearing the year's midpoint, private equity execs are fighting to convince investors to stick with the asset class. Andrea Benami, a chairman and founder of buyout firm Invest Industrial, said it's not the end of private equity, but private equity is being back to a niche asset class, or rather back to being a niche asset class. So
I think it's the end of private equity. I've seen some crazy stuff in the last couple days. So I saw an article about how campgrounds are now as expensive as hotels. Like you're gonna go to a campground and pitch a tent, and it costs like $150, right?
That's
Because
absurd.
private equity is taking over campgrounds. There was a woman who went on Twitter. I'm not going to be able to find the link, but she was in her car and she was kind of ranting about her vet's office, and she's like, I took in my dog to get some like prescription meds, and she said ordinarily they cost $400. She said they raised the price to $2,000, and like she's like the vets used to like pet my dog and play with my dog, and she's like now they don't even care. Like it's just like people are getting angrier and angrier about this, right? And it's funny because this was kind of happening in the financial crisis. Like people were pissed off at the banks, but I think it's going to be worse with private equity. I think people are starting to really understand and internalize what private equity has done to small businesses. And there's a lot of anger out there. And when this blows up, it is going to be ugly.
For the week ahead, we've got the May jobs report, which will headline the first week of June. Fresh readings on job openings and wage data, as well as manufacturing and services activity, will also be in focus. Anything big I'm missing here? I think Jay Powell's scheduled to speak today. Maybe he already has, or he's in the middle of it.
I was scrolling through Twitter on Sunday night, and there was like somebody said there were rumors that he was resigning, and I
saw that too.
Yeah, I scrolled some more and I couldn't find anything else about it, but I don't know where those rumors got started. That doesn't make it doesn't make any sense. I don't think he would resign, but I thought that was interesting. Um, yeah, the payroll numbers. I don't. I mean, I don't have any insight into the payroll numbers. I think that. Um, the market is limit short dollars and limit short bonds. So I think a weak payroll number probably causes the biggest move in the markets. So we'll see.
Anything else on markets you want to talk about?
No, but I want to plug my book.
I was going to ask you that next. Read my mind.
Right here. Rule 62. June 24th, it's coming out. So it's available for pre-order on Amazon. Right now, as of this moment, I have the exact same number of pre-orders for Rule 62 as I did for Night Moves, right? Which is pretty good because there's still 20 days left. So if you're a Kindle person, if you like to read ebooks, go on Amazon, pre-order Rule 62. Otherwise, this is coming out on June 24th. It's funny. I pick it up and I kind of read it in dribs and drabs, and it's so good. It's really, really good. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So it's a meditation on success and spirituality. Are there any financial angles in terms of success in this book, or is it more so a spiritual book?
It's not. I pretty much got rid of all the financial essays.
Okay.
It's not really about. I mean, to the extent that there's essays on success. Let me look in the contents here. How to handle failure, do hard things, punctuality. A students work for C students. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You've heard that quote before, right? A students work for C students.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And B students work for the government. There's been some great inflation though. So now I think it's A students work for B students and B plus students work for the government. But there's just a ton of good stuff in here. So
well, definitely pre-order that if you're a Kindle person. The hardcover will be, or the hard copy rather, will be out June 24th. And while you're at it, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. It does us a ton of favors. Jared, I'll talk to you here soon. Later.
see it.